If there is any percentage as clearly specified in the question, so based on the input whatever you are receiving, you have to calculate for normal rate. If the credit balance unit, debit balance unit we are getting means we need to multiply, we call it as a abnormal gain unit. The 207, if you divide it by 100 units, whatever you are getting abnormal losses unit. Credit side unit is more. Obviously from this we need to subtract the 19,500. The difference we call it as abnormal gain. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to one and all. I am Natesh, lecturer in commerce, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, MYSURU, the Temple of Excellence. We are in the Unit 2, Session 2, 4th semester BCom Costing Methods and Technique. The chapter name is Process and Service Costing. In the last session, which is related to completely theory, and today my agenda, process costing format. You will get more clarity of process costing format. Okay, and the process costing few problem to practically if you try to solve the problem together, you will get more clarity. And now process costing format where the debit, no doubt which is a debit is an expense or what and all the manufacturing sectors, okay, or oil and gas, okay, there are different mining sector. The process will be, there are too many process will be involved for producing a final product for the standardized product. So here the basic material what you are introducing for the process 1, okay, so which is once you completed the process 1 which is going for the second process, now third process like this, okay. So and here the basic material whatever you are introducing, no doubt you have to write in the debit side, which is nothing but you are bearing the cost. There are three columns, particular, unit, rate and amount column, the per rate, okay. So in the question they clearly you want to find out the cost per unit, means you have to extend one more column, okay. So and apart from the basic material and other direct material whatever you are introducing for the process 1, so you have to write the if it is rate is given, you have to multiply. If the amount is given, directly you have to write in the amount column. And the direct wages, no doubt without process, there are number of process, without labor you cannot operate any activity. So that's what the direct labor or direct wages is very important. And apart from this direct wages, we are taking for different direct expenditures, okay, which is involved for the production. And no doubt, and production overheads which is related to direct or indirect for taking to complete the process, what expenditure you are bearing which is related to production expenditure, the amount is you have to write. And apart from that, the cost of rectification of normal defect, the cost what if it is specified, you have to take here. Now this is nothing but your balancing figure, I will tell you in the coming. Next, when credit side, no doubt whatever you are introducing in the debit side as an input material, okay, from this there are two loss we are able to identify here, normal loss and abnormal loss, okay. And normal loss, how we will get to know, because of fast production experience. So if there is any percentage as clearly specified in the question, so based on the input whatever you are receiving, you have to calculate for normal rate. For example, input is you are introducing for 20,000, okay. So here normal loss on percentage 2% means obviously we can get for 200, okay. So like this you have to calculate which is abnormal loss. Normal loss and abnormal loss, no doubt when the credit side unit is more, okay, after subtracting the normal unit, now which is going for the next process, because the process is completed, of course you have to go for next process. So whenever you are transferring to next process, we call it as a output, okay. So in case of output which is going for the next process, okay. So here the output also clearly specified in the question, we need to refer that output how much you are transferring. And about the process of finished stock, either they can clearly specified on the basis on material or the basis on input, the finally 30% can be transferring to the next process, and remaining 70% which is the finished goods which is going for ready to sell. Okay, so here the process of finished stock. Of course, here also there are 3 column in case if they are specified, find out the cost per unit. So unit is clearly specified. Here normal loss unit, how we will calculate. So some percentage are given. Okay, so based on the percentage we are trying to calculate the normal unit, and output which is clearly specified in the question, no doubt we can directly write. But the rate we need to find out. For that reason, in the coming slide you will get more clarity. So if you try to subtract from the debit side more, okay, so assume debit side is more. So when you try to subtract for a credit side unit, normal loss unit, and process transferring output, subtract, the difference is a balancing unit. Okay, again the rate we need to find out. So in case of credit is more, debit is less, means obviously we are getting the balance for the unit for the debit side, which is nothing but abnormal gain. When you are getting the debit side balance, abnormal gain. When you are getting credit balance, abnormal loss. Moving forward, so we have identified there are 2 losses will be very common for the productions. Okay, so here normal loss, how to find out? Number of unit of normal loss clearly specified in the question, or percentage I will specify. So input, okay, for example, last in the slides, last slide I have specified input, for example 20,000, 10% or 5% or 2%, whatever they specify expected percentage of. So easily we can find out the normal losses of unit, normal losses of input into percentage. Abnormal loss, to find out the abnormal loss, no doubt the debit side, whenever you are introducing the, for example, basic material value, direct material, labor, direct wage, and direct expense, and factory overhead, all together you have to take the total, so which is nothing but the input value, total value. Okay, so here the total cost is increased minus scrap value. Scrap value means actually now you have identified the normal loss 2% from the total unit. For example, 200 you are getting. So 200 at the time once you find the normal loss, again you're going to sell. So of course you can recover the money. So which is call it as a scrap value of normal loss. The 200, for example, 2 per unit. If you multiply 400 value, you recover the total value, numerator value, denominator units. Numerator value, denominator units. Input units means we have introduced the input units here. From the input units, you need to subtract the normal losses unit. Okay, normal losses unit into unit of abnormal loss. Abnormal loss exactly where we are finding credit side balance. Credit side balance, what we are getting this unit. The credit side balance, how much debit side more compared to debit side is more compared to credit side. So if you are getting the difference credit side, no doubt which is a number of unit we identified as a abnormal loss. So that's what we need to multiply. Okay, so next to prepare the abnormal loss ledger account means for example from the process whatever we identify, abnormal loss means we are getting in the credit side which is going for opposite direction. Process costing we are writing. Okay, opposite direction, because the process one the balance, how many units, what is the rate, and the bank we need to calculate the value and the difference. Okay, after adding this is just for format. Moving for the abnormal gain, same thing. Total cost of increased debit side minus scrap value recovered from the credit side divided by input is introduced for the process 1 minus normal loss we calculated, we need to subtract. If the credit balance unit, debit balance unit we are getting means we need to multiply, we call it as a abnormal gain unit. So again the ledger account format, the same thing, the ledger account format, how we are writing. So the credit means which is going for the opposite direction. And now moving to the process costing problem, there is we can refer this problem for normal and abnormal losses related. Okay, prepare the process account, abnormal loss account and normal loss account from the following information. Okay, first one, input of raw material 1000 unit at the rate of 20 per unit, we need to multiply, and the direct material is given 4200, value is given, and the direct wages 6000, value is given, the production overhead 6000 is given, value, and the actual output transferred to the process 2, because the process, when you are preparing for the process 1, we are writing whatever the input is writing in the debit side. When we are at the end of the time, the process is completed, so obviously we can identify the output which is transferred to 900 unit for the process 2. Obviously in the credit side we are writing, credit side process 1, credit side we are writing, this is nothing but by output. Okay, now obviously a normal loss is 5% is given, even the scrap value for normal loss, scrap value is given 8. Okay, so we need to calculate this 5% into the input value. So here whatever the information is given, or all expenditures related, we are writing in the debit side. First one, 2 raw material at the rate of 20 means 1000 unit into 20 means 20,000, and the direct material cost value is given 4200, and the direct wages value is given 6000, and production overheads is given 6000. So if you add together, you are getting the total input value. Obviously from the 1000 unit, whatever you are introducing a raw material, 5% is calculated for normal loss, means you are getting 50. Now 550 at the rate, in the question it is clearly specified 8. For 8 into 50 we are getting 400. So moving for the next, in the question it is clearly specified actual output transfer to process 2. So first we are writing by process 2 output is transfer, we need to calculate this value. The process, how much we transfer, 900 units, which is clearly specified. Now we need to find out the rate. So there is 3 columns, rate, unit, rate, amount. So obviously we are getting the credit side value 36,200. From this we recovered 400. Okay, from this we need to subtract 36,200 minus 400. Okay, divided by 1000 minus 50. Okay, now what is the difference? Where exactly we are getting difference? Debit side unit is more, credit side unit we are copying as it is, we are copying. Okay, from this output we need to subtract, and the normal unit we need to subtract. The difference we call it as abnormal loss unit. Okay, the cost 37.6, how we are getting 36,200 minus 400 divided by 1000 minus 50 into 50 units. Here there is a calculation here, abnormal loss, whatever we are transferring the value, what we are getting the calculation value. So I have written here. So calculation working note I have specified clear. Total cost increase 36,200 from the debit side, minus 400 we recovered with the help of normal scrap value. Okay, and the total input we introduced for 1000. From this we need to subtract the normal loss unit, and the difference what we are getting, okay, exactly the 50 units we are getting. The finally you need to multiply, because here clearly specified 50 units. Because of abnormal loss unit, the difference is coming in the credit side, we need to multiply. The final rate we are getting 37.6841. Okay, it has been assuming that the unit of abnormal loss have been also sold for the same rate, normal scrap value. Okay. So next question, a product passes through three process of completion. From the past experience, the wastage in the each process is as under. Process X is 2% normal loss, and the process Y is a 5% normal loss. Process Z 10% normal loss. This percentage are calculated on the unit introduced in the each process. The first process will start from the process X. So the scrap value, whatever we calculated, 2%, 5%, 10%, the respected rate is given scrap value. Why the scrap value is given? To recover the value. So here the other expense were as follow. There are X, Y and Z. There are three process. The first one, the material 8,000. Okay. Even the direct labor also given. Manufacturing expense also given. Separately process X, process Y, process Z value is given. Directly we are writing. Now, in this case, we need to identify for process X, what is the input units we are introducing. The 20,000 units are issued to the process X, the cost of which comes to 20,000. That means the 20,000 divided by 20,000 unit, if you divide, obviously the cost per unit we will get 1 rupee. Okay, the output of each process were as under. The process X, from the process X output we identify 19,500, process Y 18,800 unit, process Z 16,500 unit. Okay, there is no stock of work in progress in any process. Prepare process account. The first one, the process X. Okay, so clearly specified how many column is required. One is particular unit, rate per unit, the amount. So again, credit side same thing, particular unit, rate, amount. So the first input we introduce here, the first input 20,000 we introduce. So we need to write two input because which is expenditures, right? So 20,000, the value is clearly specified. If you divide 20,000 divided by 20,000 units, cost per unit is 1 rupee. Okay. Now, apart from input, the direct material value is given in the question, that directly given 8,000. The direct labor 12,000 is given in the question. The manufacturing expense which is given 1,000 rupee. Altogether, if you add, no doubt the total cost increase value 41,000 we are getting. Obviously, in the question, normal loss percentage is clearly specified. The total units we introduced 20,000. 20,000 into 2% means we are getting 400 is a normal loss unit. So at the rate of 1 rupee, the scrap value is given. You need to multiply. We are getting 400. So again, the information for output also given in the process X. Output is by process Y, which is going for next process Y output 19,500. So which side we are getting more? Debit side 20,000. Opposite direction we need to write for 20,000. From this we need to subtract 19,500 and again 400. The difference we call it as a abnormal loss. So we need to find out using the abnormal loss unit. We will apply this formula to find out the value per unit, cost per unit. So the total cost increase here 41,000. 41,000. From this minus we scrap value we recovered 400. So if you subtract, divided by total inputs we introduced for the process X is at 20,000. Okay, from this we identify 400 as a normal loss. We need to subtract numerator value, denominator units. Okay, so we got the difference between the debit and credit. Okay, abnormal loss we have identified 100 units. Okay, So finally we are getting 207. The 207, if you divide it by 100 units, whatever you are getting abnormal losses you need. Abnormal losses you need. Okay. Again 20,000 debit is more. From this 400 minus 19,500, the difference is 100. We call it as an abnormal loss unit. Okay. So to find out cost per unit, whatever you are getting here, 2.07, which is applicable for normal loss per rate, even the process transferring value. Okay, we need to multiply the value we are writing. Okay, the same thing you have to multiply, which is going for the, so process Y, whatever the output we identified, which is going for the input for the next process. Moving forward for the next process, okay, whatever we have identified in the process Y, whatever the transfer the unit 19,500, which is coming under the process X credit side, which is going for the next process debit side. Okay, so whatever the output we identified in the process X, so output will be input for this process Y. Okay, so the same thing, the same remaining item we need to write the amount is deferred. So in the process Y, the separate information, process Y, direct material 4,000, the direct labor is 8,000 and manufacturing expense is 2,000. Okay, so again we need to identify first from this input we need to calculate 5%, which is given in the question. 5% need to calculate. Then we are getting 975 unit is a normal loss unit. Okay, at the rate, recover rate, the scrap value also given question 2. So 975 into 2, 1,950 value we are recovered. Okay, so again in the question the clearly specified what is an output unit we are transferring to next process. So here we are preparing for the process Y. Next process will be process Z. Okay, so the process Z output unit in the question 18,800, it is clearly specified. We need to find out the rate. Now we need to calculate which side unit we are getting more. Either debit side unit, this is your balancing figure, Here 19,500, here we are getting 19,775. Okay, now credit side unit is more, so obviously we need to copy for the debit side. Once again, if comparing to debit side only 19,500, but in credit side 19,075 units. So credit side unit is more. Obviously from this we need to subtract the 19,500. The difference we call it as abnormal gain. Whenever the balance is coming under the debit side, no doubt which is abnormal gain. Okay, now we need to find out the cost per abnormal unit value. So the formula gain, the same formula only we need to take for the abnormal gain, only slight changes, rest of the thing. So input value till here, the input value is given in the question. If you take the together total, we are getting 54,394. From this we have recovered the scrap value 1,950. Okay, value denominator, numerator we are writing value, denominator we are writing the units. Input is introduced for 19,500. From this scrap value, from this normal loss 975, the difference whatever we are getting, we need to multiply. If you subtract, you are getting this value. Okay, so directly cross multiplication divided by 2. So 779 we are getting, but as per the format, we need to find out cost per unit. So that's whatever we are getting 779, we need to divide abnormal loss unit, whatever we are finding the different 275. Finally the rate per unit is 2.83272. Okay, so which is applicable for the abnormal gain as well as output. Okay, so try, if you multiply, you're getting 779. Again, if you multiply, you're getting 53,254.26. Now both side is getting tally. Now whatever we are finding the process Y output, which is the input for the process Z. Moving forward, input for the process Z. So this rate we have calculated. So the rest of the things are the process Z, whatever the value is given, directly material, direct material 2000, direct wages 6000, manufacturing expense 3000. Okay, if you add together, which side we are getting more value? So here 18,800. Okay, and here also from this 18,800, the scrap normal value, normal loss unit 10% calculated means 1,880. Okay, and in the clearly specified, because the last process we cannot write like this, output we can't write. So the last process, whatever it is going to complete, we call it as a finished stock. Okay, in the question the finished stock value 16,500 clearly specified, clearly the information is available. So here the normal unit, the scrap value we recovered 3. If you multiply 5,640, okay, so the scrap value is given in the question, we need to multiply, we are getting. So now exactly from this total 18,800, if you try to subtract 16,500 and 1,880, the difference we are getting in the credit side, we call it as an abnormal loss, which is a balancing figure. We need to identify, once you identify the balancing figure, we call it as a abnormal loss unit. Again, we need to find out this rate using the same formula here. The total cost increase value 64,222. From this we recovered 5,640 minus, divided by input is introduced 18,800. From this normal loss unit 1,880. So we are getting the difference for the abnormal loss of 420. So obviously we need to multiply. So if you multiply, if you simplify, finally we are getting the total abnormal loss value we are getting. Actually we need to find out the cost per unit for abnormal loss unit. So if you divide, you are getting 3.46, which is applicable for abnormal loss cost per unit, which is applicable for finished stock value. If you multiply, finally we are getting 1,454, and if you multiply this one, you are getting 57,125. If you add together, both sides getting tally. Keep on watch for next section. Thank you.